Okay, so there you go. There's some really bad animation. Hello, and welcome to part 2 in this tutorial series on how to create a 2D character rig in Blender. If you would like to follow along with this tutorial, download the free project files from my new Patreon page. Link is in the description. So to begin with, I would like to talk about some things that I neglected to mention in the previous video. For example, Bendy Bones. So if we select this arm and move it around, you'll see that it's still quite stiff. And what if we want to make these bendy? So let's select the armature and go into pose mode and select all of the bones that are using lattices to move or bend the grease pencil objects. That'll be all the arm bones and all the leg bones. Then go into bone properties and go into the Bendy Bones panel and turn this up to 4, and you'll see the leg changes, but only that one bone changes. We want all these bones to change at the same time. So let's turn this back down to 1 and press and hold Alt on your keyboard, the Alt key. And then while you have that held down, turn this up to 4 and you'll see that all of the selected bones change at the same time. So now if I go back into object mode and I select this hand control and move it around, you'll see that the bones are now bendy. So now that we have our bendy boned guy, we can turn off the armature and the lattice and just test him out, and you'll see he's quite happy. And if we move this pole back and forth, we'll see that this leg is not actually working as it's intended. This is a mistake on my part from the previous tutorial, and how to correct that is we can turn the lattice back on and select one or both of them and go into your lattice properties over here, and with Alt held down just change these both to Catmul and you'll see they change there. So just make sure both these lattices are set to Catmul in the interpolation in the lattice properties here, and now you'll see when I flip this back and forth we no longer have that problem. So now our guy is looking quite dapper, and can move him around. His torso is still quite stiff though, and I will correct that in a moment. But what I think is more important is being able to move this guy around with one go without moving each point individually. Currently now, if we select the armature and move it around, you'll see that it doesn't really work. We can select all of these control bones and move them, all together. So let me just select all of them and move them around, but you'll see that that is quite tedious. Okay, we can add these to a group. We can say Control G, create new collection, call this control. Okay, and now press Shift G and go collection control, and now that just selects that automatically, and that's fine, but it doesn't really solve our problem, because now if I go into the armature edit mode, you'll see that it flicks from where we have the character to where we created the character, and that's not really great either. So let's just move this guy back by undoing all those steps and see what we can do about this. Now let's add a empty in the middle, just a cube, and resize the cube until it's over the guy. We can make it smaller in the Y axis. I'm just pressing S and Y at the moment. You should really know your G, S and R keys if you're going to be using Blender. Very, very useful. Right now I'm pressing S and Z just to scale it in the Z axis. And now Z and Y, you just want it centered over his body like that. Okay, so now I'm going to press Shift G and then collection, and Shift, just select one of these control points, go Shift G, collection, and select control. to select that all the control points, and we're just going to select that cube that we just created and press Control P to parent. Okay, so now if I move this mother object around, all of those points move around. But what about the armature? What about everything else? Okay, so let's just turn lattices on. If you want everything to move with this character, not just the control points, select the armature and parent that to the mother object, and now as we move that around we'll see that we get some funky things going on there with the arms and the legs. So select the lattices and the objects that they are linked to, and select the mother cube and press Control P and parent those too. And now as we move that around you'll see the character moves, and if we go into edit mode, that edit mode is over the character, just as we intended. So all of this is in a collection. If it's not, you could just move them all into one collection there. And if you want to now duplicate this, we can right click on this collection and say duplicate collection. And now you'll see that I have two little guys that can be animated independently from one another. Before we get into the process of creating a more dynamic torso for this character, someone asked, how would you actually animate this? And the answer is quite simple, because everything that is in this program is editable, or animatable, should I say. So let's turn off the lattice and the armature, and let's just grab one of these control points, okay? And let's press on auto keying here, and I'm going to hit spacebar to play, and then I'm going to hit G. Okay, so spacebar and G. Okay, that's more than enough. Okay, and let's go to 0 and press play, and as you can see, we've got a animation, and I'm not doing anything. And now he's got a fist, so let's make him do something with that. So pump his fist while he's grooving away. Okay. And there you go. And this guy can be, I'm gonna do a rotate, so let's press spacebar and then R, and wave, 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 wave. That's good enough. And we can actually add some movement in there as well, so let's press spacebar and G. And we're getting some funky behavior. Okay, let's undo that, because that did not work as intended. But there, we've got some, yeah, the rotation's a bit weird, so we can cancel that. But the point is that you can just animate things by hand like that. Okay, that is going to annoy me, so let's go into the dope sheet here, and we can see I'm just going to turn on selected here, select that point, and just select all the keyframes and delete them, and that movement is now gone. Okay, so if we wanted to actually animate that hand like I want to, let's so auto keying is off. I'm going to put it into position there, press I and add a keyframe, and then go a little bit ahead, put it in a different position, put it there, and from there put it back up here, and so now we've got some weird hand movement that doesn't really fit the rest of it, but I'm just showing you how you would animate it. So let's grab this rotation. As you can see here, it says Euler rotation, X, Y, and Z, and I'm just going to move those a little bit. So now the rotation is going to lag behind the movement. So let's see what that looks like. Yeah, you get the idea. Okay, so let's make this guy walk in from the left-hand side. So I'm going to go to frame 100, and I'm going to set a keyframe there, pressing I. I'm going to go to frame 1, press G and X to move this guy off the screen. I'm going to set another keyframe, and now you'll see he walks on the guy and it's like, hey, what the hell's going on, man? Alright, so let's put this guy's hands down, just so he's got a better pose there. So you can see the arm is in the wrong place, so I'm going to press G and Y and just move that forward a bit. There you go. Alright, so now I'm going to grab the foot and I'm going to press spacebar and G, and let's see if we can get some walking. Okay, that's good. Alright, so let's do the other foot. Oh, I forgot to put recording on, so let's try that again. Okay, can actually just move all these keyframes over a bit. Alright, let's do the other foot. Okay, it was a bit janky, but yeah, let's actually do that again. So I just deleted the keyframes there. Let's try again. No, try again. Okay, animating literally by hand, right? So let's get some bounce going on that walk. Okay, and maybe a head movement as well. Can go back and forth. Okay, so there you go. There's some really bad animation. Usually I wouldn't animate like this. I'm just actually doing this as a fun experiment. I would usually painstakingly add keyframes and stuff, but this is quite fun. I'm quite enjoying this. So how would we make his face turn towards him? Alright, there's lots of ways to do this. I've seen people create their own head rigs and stuff. It's quite amazing. But I'm just going to do it a really simple way. Okay, so I'm going to go into edit mode. Okay, so we have a frame selector time offset thing on here. So I'm just going to copy this frame to, let's say, 100. Okay, and then I'm going to create another frame here just by moving. So when we move these pieces while we're on a different let me just change the, okay, so while we're on a different frame and we have those strokes collected and we move them, it's going to create a new frame there, right? So there we've got his face kind of looking. I'm gonna just move the mouse a bit. Alright, so now we've got him moving his head in that direction. So we need to interpolate between those frames. So I'm going to, while my mouse is over the viewport, I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-E. Okay, and what that does is it just interpolates between those two frames. Alright. You can also do that, so I'm going to just undo that. You can also just do that by going interpolate sequence. It's linear at the moment, so let's change it to sinusoidal, I don't know how to say that, and then change it to an ease in and ease out, and go interpolate sequence. So, and there you'll see it's a bit of a smoother motion. Alright, so when I go into object mode, you'll see that that animation is no longer there, and I'll show you how to fix that. But first, I just want to fix this little problem of his head poking through. I'm just going to grab that grease pencil head object, and I'm going to press G and Y and just bring it forward a bit. So now as we play that, you'll see it no longer intersects with the neck object. Okay, so to get this animation playing, we're going to go into the time offset modifier, and we're going to first go back a few frames. Actually, let's go to the beginning of where we want this to start. So we want it to start about there. So let's just add a keyframe there, go 1 frame ahead, set this to 100, okay? And we want to go to 120 frames ahead. So just go in here and press plus 20, all right? Set this to 120, and we have some movement there. I think I forgot to actually add a keyframe before, so I'm just going to go minus 20 and set this to 100 and a keyframe. So now if you play that, you'll have a head movement there. And that's quite a long way to create a head turn, but I mean, it works. There are other ways of creating head rigs. I haven't quite figured it out yet. You have to use actions and things. Hopefully in a future tutorial I can create that. And now a word from our sponsors. Hey, surprise! It's me again! I'm the sponsor! Are you sick and tired of waiting months for videos that the creator promised would be released days ago? Do you need 3D furniture but have no 3D modeling skills? Well, you can solve both of these problems at the same time by going to TurboSquid and buying my furniture, or going to the Patreon and donating. I have tons of 3D furniture and I'm making more every day. If you want me to upload more, buy it and I will. Or by sending me an email and commissioning a work of art, such as a caricature, or an animation, or a video game, or an app, or whatever it is. I can do it. Maybe just try me. I also do consulting if you have any issues or anything like that, need some help with a Blender project or something, send me an email. Maybe I can help. I also work for a company called Blank Canvas Collective. Have a look at the YouTube page. We do 3D renders. So as I mentioned in the previous video, there's quite a large variety of different methods to creating rigs. For example, this rig has many different moving parts. This leg, for example, has a foot included in it, whereas in the rig that we're building, the foot is separate from the leg. In both of these rigs, the body is bendy, and there's some extra bits and pieces that the rig that we're currently building doesn't have. So in the rest of this tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can add some of these things to your model. So to make this torso bendy, we need to look and see that this torso is just one bone. So we're not going to get any bendiness out of that. We need at least 2 bones, and we need a base bone for this to bend against, okay? So in edit mode, select this ball and just move it up a bit, and press E and extrude this down. Now I'm just going to flip this over, so move that down and select that bottom ball, press G and move it up. Okay, and then select that top bone to parent it to this one and press Ctrl P and say connected. Alright, so now we have these bones and they're connected together. So let's just move that to about there. Okay, so we need a lattice because currently this grease pencil object is parented directly to this bone, and that's what gives it the static movement. Okay, so to unparent it, just press Ctrl P and say clear and keep transform. Okay, so that's going to keep it in the same place. So now if we move it around, we'll see it's no longer parented. Alright, so put your cursor over there and add a lattice, and just resize this lattice so that it's the same size as the torso. Okay, so I'm just using S to resize it, and then go into your lattice properties over here and turn the resolution in the W up to an appropriate number. About 9 will do. Okay, I'm just going to make that a little bit fatter. Alright, we can change these to Catmul ROM before I forget. Okay, and let's just add a armature modifier to this and select the armature. Okay, and I know that this bone here is called bone, and then this bone here is called, actually let's rename these. So let's name this butt, and let's name this chest. Okay, so then we go back into the lattice and we select the vertices that are over there. In fact, let's turn this up a little bit more. So let's turn that up to 12. Okay, so let's select those vertices and add those to a new group called chest over here, and assign those, and then select the bottom vertices and assign those to a new group called butt. Okay, and now we need one more thing. We need to connect the grease pencil to the lattice. So I've already added this modifier because I've gone through this step already. So let's just do that again. So add a lattice and select that lattice. Great. And so now if we move that around, we see we get some bendiness there. But these bones aren't bendy yet, so let's just make them so. Select them both and turn that up to 4 or 5. 4 will do. Okay, and now we get some bendiness in the torso, and that's fantastic. But if we move this, we'll see it's not connected, so we need to reconnect that. In fact, let's connect these to that, because currently if we look here in the object properties, we'll see that's parented to the butt control, which is this big circle, but we want them to be parented to the bone instead. So let's just make sure we have this bone selected. Okay, and then let's go into object mode, select these two circles, say Control P and keep transform, then select the armature, press Control P and say bone, and nothing should really have changed now, except now we get no movement out of that because this bone isn't connected to this yet. So let's select the armature, go into pose mode, select that bone, go into constraints, say copy location, and copy the location of the butt control. Okay, so now if we go into object mode, we should see that that's functioning. All right. We actually need to clean up some stuff here. So this has got copy location because it used to be the base bone. So just delete that. That IK can stay. Okay, so great, we have some movement. Now we need to get this rotating, because if we press R and rotate, it's not rotating. So to get that rotation, we're going to go into the armature, select the base bone, say copy rotation, and select the control butt. Right, it goes all weird, don't worry, we only want the Y rotation in there, so that'll fix that. Also, we want to just limit this rotation so it doesn't go off the wall, so make it so that only the Y axis can rotate. Okay, so let's go back in here, and because I don't think this is going to be rotating correctly, so if we rotate this, we'll see it rotates in the wrong axis. Okay, so don't worry about that. We need to fix that by going into your copy rotation and changing this order. And I know by experience that it's Z, Y, X, Y, but you might need to, oh, okay, maybe not. Or I think it is, maybe I just rotated it too much. So let's go into object mode, and yeah, there we go. So that rotation is currently working. It's jumping back and forth here, probably because of the poles. So we need to add a pole for the torso. So just duplicate this empty, select the top of the IK chain and make this pole target that. Okay, so now if we, yeah, so now it's no longer jumping back and forth. Right, so the final thing that I want to show you is how to make squash and stretch. So currently, if we move this down, it doesn't really do anything. So we can't really have this character bending over forwards or doing any fancy squashy movements. So to fix that, let's go into pose mode, select this bone, and add a stretch to constraint, and just select this control torso, and now you'll see we have a very squashy man, but his head and his arm are now squashing, and we don't want that. So the reason that it's doing that is because these bones are parented to that bone, and they don't have to be, because the way that we've got it set up is these bones are following these objects. So let's select these, actually in edit mode, not pose mode. Select these two bones, press Control P, and say clear parent. Okay, and now in object mode, if you'll see that it's squashing nicely, and the head and the arm are no longer moving. All right. So also just want to fix this thing, because this needs to be much higher than it is. Oh, this is no longer parented to the right thing. I think that was a consequence of parenting it to the mother. So let's just do that, move that up, and that should be working just fine. Okay. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I think that's pretty much all I have to say. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, congratulations. I hope you've been following along with me, and it's all been doable. This is just one method of animating, and there are way more ways of doing it, and sometimes a rig isn't the best way to go. This is the best way to go if you've got a long animation with the same character doing quite simple movements. If you want to do like a fight scene or something short, it's probably best to use frame by frame animation, and a lot can be accomplished there. I recently did a music video that'll be coming soon, just depending on when the artist wants to drop it. And as you can see, I did frame by frame animation using Blender's interpolation tools, and it worked quite well. I watched the movie Soul recently, and there was a quote from there saying that you know, the music is just an excuse for you to show yourself. It's not the be all and end all, just in the same way that this animation technique is just a guide for you to exhibit your own creativity and your own spirit. You know, everything from the drawing to the way the character moves is all up to you. I can only give you the tools to do it. So, and that's what gives it value as well, is your own style. So please feel free to impart your own creativity and style into this project. Yeah, for final notes, I guess, all of these objects are editable. And if you've got a problem like this happening here, all you do is you just grab this object that you want to be in front and you move it on the Y axis, okay? And if you've got your auto keyframing on there, and you just pay attention to the keyframes, you can make it so that the character is always in the correct order in terms of the, like you see here, this leg is clipping through the body, so just move that backwards a little bit, okay? And yeah, and when the arm flips because of the pole, you'll see that the hand goes over. So you just need to find that point in the animation where the arm flips, and then just make sure that the hand changes its layer at that point. And that may sound time-consuming, but this is animation, and that's what it's all about, is spending time to create art. All art is you know, spending time, unless I guess you're a genius. Yeah, so as we can see, that isn't working. Actually, let me fix that before we end the tutorial. So we need to parent the grease pencil and the lattice to the mother. So just do it like that, and there you go, all done. Alright, hopefully I haven't made any mistakes or left anything out in this tutorial. Thank you again for watching. If you like my content, please have a look at my Patreon and the rest of my YouTube channel, and consider subscribing. Thank you so much, I love you lots, and bye-bye.